It's time for a build update of Tekno's first 1/10 scale buggy. How did it build, any issues I encountered, and my overall thoughts of the kit? Let's get to Hey guys, Rich here from the RCNetwork.com, and today it's time for the build update of the Tekno EB410. Now, of course, that is Tekno's first 1/10 scale four-wheel drive buggy. In this video, I'll be going over lots of information on how we've done the build up to this point. Now, of course, I'm ready for electronics, wheels and tires, and paint on the body, but with that, I'll be covering lots of information, including how the owner's manual was, issues that I came up with during the build, what I liked about the overall design, tools needed, option parts that I installed, everything that you also need to add to this build to make this thing run, and also what's left from the kit parts. Tools needed to assemble your Tekno EB410 are common RC tools, including a 2.5, 2.0, and 1.5 millimeter hex wrenches, 5.5 and 7.0 nut drivers. You'll need two open-ended turnbuckle wrenches, 4.0 and 5.5, some good trimming shears, some needle nose pliers, and a good sharp hobby knife. Supplemental tools that make the build go even easier are a good set of calipers, a 3mm arm reamer, a good sharp body reamer, and also a set of shock shaft pliers. All of the fluids needed to assemble your EB410 are included in the kit, including 500 CST shock oil, 15 and 7,000 weight diff oil. You do get some black grease and thread lock, and I like to add the ProTech RC Premier Blue O-ring grease as an additional item just for lubricating the O-rings in the shocks. Parts left over from the build include a standard profile servo mount. I opted to install the low profile servo mount that's also included in the kit. You do get some servo spacers and the longer hardware for the standard mount. You do get 23 and 24 tooth flip-flop servo horns. I installed the 25 tooth that was included. You get all of the different pills for the adjustable geometry on the A, B, C, and D blocks. You also get a 3-degree and 1.5-degree wing mount. I opted to install the included 0-degree. You do get 2mm and 1mm rear diff height shims, and also the little brackets right there for mounting onto the rear chassis brace for the adjustment in height. The owner's manual is probably one of Tekno's best illustrated and best written owner's manual to date, and in my opinion, probably the best owner's manual in the industry. As I built my EB410, I took a yellow highlighter and just highlighted some things I wanted to share with you guys for your information. Now, the first thing right here is going to be the disclaimer right here for the differentials. It says to run 3 to 4 packs through your differentials to break them in. Then go ahead and flush the fluid, add fresh fluid, and you're set to go. The steering posts need to be driven in with a 5.5mm nut driver. Now, they go directly through the bell cranks into the bulkhead, and it is at a slight angle, so you have to make sure that everything's lined up as you are driving into plastic. Two items that were very clever that Tekno mentioned in the turnbuckle installation were to use chapstick for the turnbuckles. Now, I always use chapstick for building my turnbuckles as it won't break down the plastic as black grease can. Now, also the other clever item was they put a visible T or a Tekno logo on the side of the turnbuckle link that actually is visible when you snap it in to the ball stud. One small adjustment that I did have to make on the kit was I had to take a little bit of material off of the C-hub on the front end to allow it to go into the outer portion of the arm. Now, mine fit quite snugly and I wasn't happy with the amount of material that was there, so I just used a simple sanding block to remove a little bit of material from the C-hub. Everything's great now. The other confusing section in the owner's manual was bag L, or also bag O, which included the low profile servo mount. Bag L includes the standard. Now, it was a little bit confusing because they do suggest to install the low pro, but that's later on in bag O, and it tells you to refer to page 25 once again. Now, it would have been nice if they would have had that all on this same page, on page 20, whether it be the standard or the low profile and just include all of those parts in bag L. You can kind of differentiate what you need. With that, the turnbuckle linkage that goes from your bell cranks up to your servo horn has a slight bend in the actual turnbuckle link. Now, if you run a standard, it'll go upwards. If you run a low profile, it will go downwards. And that's later specified on page 25 on bag O section. I've stated this for almost every Tekno build that I've done, and they write the absolute best shock filling instructions on the market. Now, a couple of notes that I made on the actual build where the shock caps were super tight going onto the shock bodies. Now, of course, these are aluminum shock bodies with plastic caps, and if you don't get it exactly right, you have the risk of cross-threading those caps. So be careful as you install, and it'll be easy. Finally, what's really nice about the Tekno Owner's Manual is they actually give you setup information that was written by an actual human being that runs these cars. You have all different adjustments on here that actually make sense. They give you real world scenarios for ride height, front toe, camber, Ackerman, bump steer, droop, you name it, it's in this section of the manual. And finally, they do give you a stock setup sheet and a blank one that you can just make copies of and adjust as you go on your track. To make your EB410 run, you'll have to supply your own motor, ESC, servo, radio system, shorty lipo pack, wheels, tires, and of course some paint for the body. Tekno was nice enough to go ahead and send over a couple of option parts made from carbon fiber for the EB410. Now they're not quite ready yet. They're still kind of going through the prototyping phase, but these things fit on quite nice. Now included in my build that wouldn't be in a stock EB410 would be the front shock tower, rear shock tower, the center diff brace and fan mount, and also the battery strap. Of course, all made from carbon fiber. They're going to be a little bit stronger and a little bit lighter than their plastic counterparts in the stock kit. Weighing in my EB410 with the option parts, it comes out to 977 grams. Now, of course, adding in that 16 grams for the stock plastic parts, you're going to be right at about 993 grams. What I really like about the Tekno EB410 is that it's a 2017 design. There's no predecessor to this, so there's no carryover designs or maybe issues that they were trying to fix, or maybe corners that were cut to maybe keep the same arms, keep the same bulkheads, that type of stuff. This is a fresh ground up design made for 2017. All the different types of track surfaces were taken in consideration, and they did a great job. Three of the most notable design features of the Tekno EB410 is definitely the weight distribution. From the center diff forward is where all of the electronics are stocked. There's pretty much nothing behind this section, and that carries forth through most of Tekno's e-buggies and even their short course trucks. This thing is definitely going to be nice on the track, and I think it'll handle well. Next feature is the reverse bell cranks. They did a great job of incorporating this type of steering feature, basically to smooth out the steering for us on tracks. Now, I brought in my Tekno SCT410 right here just to show you the difference between a reverse crank on the EB versus the standard cranks on the SCT version. The last feature that I love are the arms, particularly the front ones. These things are super beefy throughout. They are built up all in the right areas. I love the design of these things, and there will be no aftermarket vendors making arms for the Tekno buggies. Other notable items that I noticed during the build were how nice the shocks are. These are slightly larger than you'd find on most other 10 scale buggies. These are 13mm shocks, and they definitely have a little bit more volume for the oil. That basically means better dampening overall. Lastly, the diff housings or the bulkheads, they're made from a super strong plastic, and I love the fact that they had kind of like a trap door design on the bottom just to keep all the elements out of your diff housings. These things bolted together nicely. There was no play and definitely no shims needed on the initial build of this vehicle. What really impressed me during the build were all of the little things that Tekno thought about. Now, these are just regular guys out there that love RC, that have seen all the different types of mods and things that we do as racers to make our vehicles better. better. So Tekno took it to the next level and actually incorporated and included those things in the build for the EB410. Starting with little notches on the body and also places to mount Velcro that was included in the kit. These things are just slightly raised right here to accommodate the Velcro, and there's little doors that are mounted on the chassis plate to accept those Velcro pieces. You get not only the standard profile servo mount, but you also get the low profile one that I have installed there. Nice touch. Speaking of servos, the included servo horns, both 23, 24, and 25 tooth, are flip-floppable. You can actually mount this as a low profile version this way, or flip it over, and they're splined on both sides to accommodate a standard profile servo. Don't want to pick up the fancy carbon fiber fan mount? Well, the kit actually includes a plastic version right here. Mounts right here up to the motor mount and cools off your motor with the included fan mount. So you want to race your EB410 on super high bite traction surface, it includes the diff height shims, both 1mm and 2mm, to raise your diff up a little bit, give you a little bit better traction. Also gives you little bits and pieces to make this all happen. The EB410 includes 6mm stub axles. That means 6mm of material goes through the bearings. This is a super tough design. The wheel nuts included with the kit are made from aluminum. They're super thin, about 3mm in thickness. They are serrated and lightened all in the same package. You never see this from a kit manufacturer. Finally, on the center brace, they added just a little bit to the plastic mold to manage the battery wires. Now, this is just a simple little item, but I definitely appreciate that they went through that effort to see that we needed it and made it happen. So what would I change about the EB410? It's just a couple of little things. Now, I noticed that there's a lot of movement on the center drive shafts. Now, they are just dog bones, and this is a pretty stiff chassis, so I don't think you're going to be popping any dog bones on the center drive shafts, but there's quite a bit of movement, about 5mm on each drive shaft. Next, the EB410 does not include a front sway bar in the kit. It is an option part listed in the manual and even gives you instructions for it. Now, I'm not sure why they did not include one. It may be by design on how this is set up out of the box. We'll have to find out once it's been driven. Last on my list is the rear chassis brace. It just seems like it was a secondary item. Notice that there's a couple of mounting holes on top of the center diff upright, that maybe there was a different option for a rear chassis brace, but this one bolts on with 4 screws through the bottom of the chassis. It seems a little bit excessive, maybe only one on one side, and it might be a tuning option going forward. Well guys, that is my build update of the brand new Tekno EB410. It's been a pleasure to build this thing. I love all of the details that Tekno went into on making this great 2017 platform. I applaud all of their efforts, and I cannot wait to drive this thing. I have electronics showing up as we speak, and I will be installing those almost right after this video is edited. Yes, I do actually film and edit my videos and get them out to you guys so you have some great information so you can make the correct purchase for your next 4-wheel drive buggy. Well guys, that is it for now. If you have any comments or questions about this video, please check out the video description. I have lots of links down there to every item I mentioned as far as additional items or tools or lubricants and that type of stuff. And lastly, check out my website, the RCNetwork.com. I have lots of information over there that go into more detail than just these quick videos. Well guys, that is it for now. Comments, questions down below, and as always, thumbs up and subscribe. That's it for now guys. Over now.